riot girl, fabulous, anarchy. Oh, woo! Alma's Not Normal is drawn from personal experiences, and you use your personal experiences, I suppose, as a metaphor to talk about, I suppose, issues that make me angry. But I see anger as a really positive thing. Comedy is anger and love and optimism for me. So the whole drive of comedy is to really challenge the systems that we've got. And Alma and I have had very similar experiences, but I would say that we're different people.
I think the first day we filmed, we had to film the kebab scene. I might be wrong on this, but we had this, it was an evening shoot, and we had to eat like 4 kebabs, but I didn't know because I'd never done this, because this was my first part back then that I'd like done filming a day here and a day there, but Sophie gave me my first reoccurring role, and I didn't know not to eat the kebabs, so I ended up having like 4 kebabs, but it was absolutely fine. But what was really nice about that scene is it really shows the friendship between Leanne and Alma. Leanne finds Alma funny, and funnily enough, I find Sophie Willan funny, so...
I always wanted to write from being a really young girl. I used to watch Alan Bennett as a kid and write my own versions of monologues. Then I got into theatre via Contact Theatre in Manchester. And then I actually started flying all the producers at Media City and at BBC when they were coming out of the building, because I had a show on. And one producer thought, oh, I'll take a chance on her. I think she might be unwell, but we'll give it a whirl. And she came to my show, and then she commissioned a script, which didn't leave Manchester because London saw it and went, oh no, we don't understand it. But then what was fabulous was she said, start stand-up, and then I built a reputation through stand-up comedy and then applied for the Carolina Hearn bursary. So you just try lots of different avenues, don't you, really?
I didn't have the same sort of into the industry as, say, other people. No one in my family has ever done this before. I was a freestyle disco dancer as a child, which I don't expect you to understand at all, but it's basically dancing to techno music with a number on your bum in a leisure centre. It's a long story, we haven't got time. But then I sort of ended up meandering into stand-up. I was an Adele drag act, and then in 2014 I entered a comedy competition and I won it, and that's where I got my first agent. That's when I sort of went into comedy and met Sophie Willan in 2015 at a cabaret show, because both of us have sort of meandered into stand-up via cabaret, and that's where we've connected. Both of us have been, you know, very much part of queer culture, her up in Manchester and me down in London.
I think it's really important not just to have working class voices, but to have voices from different experiences, and it's still very much a white male, hetero, middle class / upper class dominated industry. So I think actually what we want to do is be challenging that from all angles, and I can do that from the angles I know, which is queer experience, female mental health, working class. And I think, you know, the more gatekeepers and more people that we have in the industry that are actually coming from those backgrounds, the more we'll commission work that comes from the backgrounds that we understand. You know, it was a small northern woman who first commissioned me, and I think that's not a coincidence, because we commission work that we understand and worlds that we understand. So on Alma's Not Normal, we had a paid training scheme for working class and care experienced people on both series. So it's not just about in front of the camera, but behind the camera. You know, the DOPs, the directors, the producers, they need to have different experiences too, I think.
The landscape is changing somewhat with telling regional and working class stories. I think there's still a lot of work to do. I think the biggest problem in this industry is nepotism. It matters because there's not a way in. I had to, you know, Sophie and I have the reason we've connected and we're friends as well as colleagues. It's both of us have found it really tricky to get into this industry. You know, we found a lot of closed doors, and then we'd go and find another open one, and we both found it, the gays had us. As long as I dressed up as an Adele impersonator, they were absolutely fine with me being there, and she had the same experience in Manchester.
I went up to Edinburgh Festival in 2014 and 2015, and I had reviews that said things like a distracting amount of cleavage that can be off-putting at close range, and she's a lot smarter than she first appears. I don't know how I appear, but anyway, so that was interesting. And then Carolina Hearn died and Victoria Wood died, and suddenly they could find a place to fit me into, and I fit the social consciousness, and I had a space that I could fit. But before that, it was very hard for them to understand me. So you have to be ready, and then also you're waiting for the kind of political shifts, I suppose, or cultural shifts in mindset. So it was the kind of combination.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's perfect, and because this show is obviously an example of this being that it's positively going in the right way. But a lot of working class people who are in this industry, as soon as we see something or someone doing well, we're checking Wiki. We're checking the internet to see who their dad is or who their mum is or what uncle they've had. And it's annoying because, you know, I'd have loved to have had an in like that and I didn't get one. Luckily, Sophie Willan saw me dressed as a ASDA fishmonger singing Time to Say Goodbye at a cabaret show at the Roundhouse that we got paid nothing for. We were working for this crazy person. And she saw me there, and one of the first things she said to me is, "You're a star." I am very, very grateful that I met her, because without her, I would have quit by now.
You know, it was quite good at one point in the 80s, 90s. There was a movement of working class stories being told, and then it became unpopular again, as it often does. You know, as the Labour government went out, it became unpopular, and actually there's a lot of shaming of working class people, of working class women specifically. But as the Tories continued their vendetta against working class women, the more actually there was an interest in female stories. Fleabag, for example, very posh woman, dad's a lord. She did us a lot of good. It's like the suffragettes. Most of those women were really, really posh women. But in a way, we needed them to start the story because they'll trust a posh woman first and then we all get to come through afterwards. So that's really helpful. Caroline and Victoria dying was another big one. Because actually people said, oh, God, yeah, they are good, aren't they? They actually can be quite smart, can't they, when they've come from different backgrounds? And then obviously Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, all of these things made people more conscious. And it's not just about class, it's about, you know, diversity, people of colour, people of care experience. I don't think we see enough of disabled artists on television at all. You know, and class in a way, it's like we keep talking about class, but there's more to talk about. It's got quite serious, this, hasn't it? So I've got... Yeah, anyway, we'll relax now. I just want another Scotch egg and a champagne.
I think one of my favourite scenes we had, there was one where me, Lorraine and Sophie were eating Sophie's favourite ye old pasties. That was really lovely, because I didn't get to see them much, but these moments where we were all together were great. And then there was another one where Siobhan's character is not having fun in a Zumba class. That was a really, really fun day. It was very intense, because when you're filming a Zumba class, you're doing Zumba. And you're doing it, I think, longer than other people do Zumba.
You should watch the second series of Alma, because it's fucking fabulous. And I worked my tits off. 3
words to sum up Alma's Not Normal. Are you crazy? Intelligent, beautiful, and hilarious.
Oh, I don't know. Fabulous, heartfelt, fuck 'em. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Or Riot Girl, fabulous, anarchy. Yeah. Oh, woo! Yeah.